Rabbit Hole Roundup, episode 27, False Idols Are Falling. Diddy's house was raided by the feds. We already know everything that's going on with Nickelodeon, as I covered in last week's episode. They're trying to change time. A Baltimore bridge collapses after being hit by a boat. An eclipse is coming up on April 8th. Are we in the end times? Guys, I have so much to cover today, so without further ado, let's dive right into this Rabbit Hole Roundup. What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the Jared and James channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys didn't know that, must mean you're not subscribed to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on this video, follow me on every platform. So we have a ton of conspiracies, a ton of truth going on, a ton of crazy events happening in the world. So for a podcast like mine, this is going to be prime time. So the first story I'm going to cover is everything that's going on with P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, whatever you want to call him.
Puff Daddy.
Is he the Epstein of the rap industry? Possibly. So as many of us know, he's been accused of sex trafficking kids, and he has a whole laundry list of allegations that were made against him, which are allegations. Once again, as I said during last week's video on Nickelodeon, I don't want to falsely accuse anyone of something like they didn't do, but it's not looking good for P. Diddy either. Now, my first question is this part of the Great Awakening? Is everything going to be exposed, or is this all going to be a great cover-up? I saw some interesting theories going around online on social media the past few days that have been talking about this idea of the feds going to Diddy's house. They already know that all the evidence is already there for all the crimes that he and all these Hollywood elites have committed. So could they be going there to actually cover everything up and to get rid of all the evidence? Possibly. I don't doubt it at this point, especially when we still haven't seen anything come from Epstein's list. I mean, as I said during that video, do we really expect these people to turn themselves in? Do we really expect these people to expose themselves? Do we really expect the corrupt, powerful elites, quote unquote, to bring truth to the light? Or are they just feeding us what we want because so many of us are awakening to all these evils that are out there, but then they're never actually going to take us any further and they're never going to expose the actual truth about what's going on? And also, could P. Diddy just be the fall guy? And another interesting thing is, if P. Diddy actually does end up being the fall guy, is he going to start naming other names?
We need a name. Give us a name.
Is he going to start exposing the rest of the music industry and the rest of the rap industry? Or is he going to be Epsteined or suicided or offed? It's super interesting how many things are coming into the light, especially the past few weeks. Now, I have my own theories as to why all these things are suddenly coming into the light. I think a large part of this has to do with they're trying to take down all these false idols that they actually created and they actually gave to us in this effort to demoralize us and to bring down the culture and to make us feel hopeless.
I don't want hope. Hope is killing me. My dream is to become hopeless.
Because so many people have idolized all these figures, have idolized celebrities, so many people have participated in this whole celebrity worship syndrome. And then when you realize that all these people aren't what they seem to be, and that all these people are actually doing all this evil stuff, they're all participating in all these satanic rituals, then it makes you think that I spent all these years looking up to these people, but these people are evil, so it's definitely part of a demoralization effort, I think. And furthermore, these people told you it was going to be coming. I mean, Cat Williams, as I spoke about in the past, I believe he's a control opposition guy. I mean, it was definitely way too easy for him to get 60 million views and to be seen overall as this big truth teller. The same thing with Ryan Garcia. I see them as false idols and actual gatekeepers who are saying a lot of truth right now, but I think they're ultimately going to lead us in this misdirection. They're going to start off telling us all this truth to get us on board, even though a lot of us already know about all the things they're talking about. But then what's going to happen once enough of us jump on board with them? Then we're all going to be misled. But whether you agree with them or not, whether they're gatekeepers or not, they did tell us that a lot of stuff was going to be happening. So I think that this is actually their way of hiding the truth in plain sight and seeing how many of us are actually going to listen to them and furthering this idea of them taking down our idols they created for us. What do we see going on? So I'm not someone who usually likes to focus too much on race or any of these identities or any of these limiting labels or identities.
What about you dating a black guy? What's the big deal?
What black guy?
Daryl. He's black, isn't he?
He is?
I thought he looked Irish. Should we be talking about this?
I think it's okay.
No, it isn't.
Why not?
Well, it would be okay if Daryl was here.
If he's black.
Is he black?
Does it matter?
No, of course not.
But what do we see going on? So within the past few weeks, you have Diddy, who's being taken down as this false idol, and then someone who committed all these crimes, who's involved in all the sex trafficking, and who's been a massive figure in the black community, in the rap industry, who's been heavily connected to Jay-Z, LeBron James, to all these massive celebrities. And also taking that a step further, what do we see happening with LeBron James recently? He's been accused of taking PEDs, so you have the black community now being demoralized and having their heroes and idols taken down. And what we see happen last week, for the past few weeks, when it came to the whole Nickelodeon situation. What does a lot of the whole white community look up to? A lot of the people who were on Nickelodeon, a lot of white people's favorite shows were on Nickelodeon. So are they now taking down both the black and white community and demoralizing us and trying to make us feel hopeless because all these heroes we were given throughout our childhood, we're now looking at these people in a different light. So once again, I don't like to focus too much on race, and I'm obviously not racist and I'm not trying to create any type of race war, but like I do find it interesting how within the past few weeks you have this demoralization of the black culture and this demoralization of the white culture happening simultaneously, with how all of our heroes are falling like dominoes. And also coming back to the whole Nickelodeon situation, I actually want to recommend for all you guys to watch the Drake Bell interview on the Sarah Fraser show. I actually found it to be super heartbreaking to see all the trauma that Drake Bell went throughout his childhood, and I do see him trying to make a positive comeback. And also, like, I may be touching on this further in another episode, but like, I actually think that Drake Bell had his name smeared throughout the media. He was falsely accused of something that like he didn't actually do. And also, like, the New York Times actually recently retracted a story about him, calling him an SA or an SO, I think, saying that he had to register as such, even though he actually never did. And a lot of the accusations that were made against him, I think it was like a year or two ago, maybe 3 years ago, actually didn't hold a lot of water, and there's actually a lot of interesting stuff behind that whole situation. His accuser actually wasn't able to have her friends corroborate the story, and there was a lot of things that didn't add up with that. So like, I honestly feel super bad for Drake Bell, but like, I'm hoping that he can turn things around and use all this horrible stuff he's been through to make a positive comeback and to help others and show people that you don't have to be defined by your trauma. So once again, I would highly recommend for anyone to watch that episode. And especially because Drake and Josh is actually one of the best shows of all time.
Hug me, brother!
I hope that Drake actually is a good guy, and I hope that he is trying to turn things around in his life, because he can make a huge impact if he chooses to do so. Next up, getting back to this idea of the whole Diddy situation, Jason Whitlock actually made some really good points when it came to this whole situation. Once again, like, I actually have some more recommendations for you guys to check out. So like, Jason Whitlock this past week actually did 2 deep dives into the truth about Diddy and who he actually is, and who his family is, who his dad is. His dad was actually a similar type of person to Diddy, and as the famous saying goes, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He was involved in a lot of shady stuff himself, but the most powerful point that I thought Jason Whitlock actually made was saying how much of the responsibility for creating this whole rap culture and this culture that promotes gangbanging and sexual promiscuity and drugs and violence, how much of that like actually lies on us allowing that to happen? How many of us actually played a role in promoting that culture? And of course, a lot of people are going to shun this idea, and a lot of them are going to act like Diddy's the only problem, and once again, like, he's probably going to be the fall guy, when a lot of people allowed this to happen by worshipping and by idolizing a lot of these figures who didn't deserve our worship in the first place, and definitely were not deserving of being role models. As I often say, our outer world is definitely a mirror of our inner world. So what we're allowing into our lives and what we're choosing to interact with is going to end up showing up in our outer world. So if we're allowing and overusing and promoting so much of this toxic rap culture or toxic Hollywood culture, toxic entertainment industry, if we're allowing all that stuff into our lives and we're worshiping celebrities, and I mean, as the famous Bible verse goes from Leviticus 19:4, do not turn to idols or make metal gods for yourselves. I am the Lord your God. So it's definitely important for us to take responsibility for allowing this culture to be promoted. And in these videos, Jason Whitlock focuses on the black community allowing this to happen, but like, I think all of us may have gotten carried away when it came to seeing these people as our heroes and idolizing them too much and giving them way too much credit. And of course, it's not easy being part of a culture when the CIA and Tavistock Institute are giving us these heroes and changing our frequencies and giving us this whole toxic culture. And speaking of which, another one of my favorite Bible quotes or biblical concepts is, you can be in the world without being of it. So like, there's nothing wrong with listening to rap music every now and then, there's nothing wrong with watching movies, there's nothing wrong with enjoying the entertainment industry, but a lot of people for the past several years were of the world. A lot of people were doing too much celebrity worship without focusing on their own internal lives and without bettering themselves. And as I spoke about when it came to Ice Cube and how he exposed this idea of the CIA creating gangster rap as a psyop, which ultimately led to sowing more division in the community and to more black people going to prison for drugs and for more violent offenses. But a lot of these people, a lot of these rappers are promoting drugs in their songs because a lot of times the executives will only promote them if they do this stuff because it's all part of programming a culture. This is all part of getting people to act out these harmful agendas. But truthfully, a lot of the rappers who are rapping about gangbanging and violence and drugs, a lot of them aren't actually doing those things.
This guy's a gangster. His real name's Clarence. And Clarence's parents have a real good marriage.
But then the people who are listening to these songs who don't have a good spiritual backing behind them are going to actually act out these agendas, and then they're going to end up increasing the crime rate, and they're going to end up messing up their minds, messing up their brains, messing up their health, and messing up the whole next generation. So this is definitely a very big issue, and I think it's important for us to realize that they're all in on it. 99% of Hollywood, the music industry, the entertainment industry, is promoting a certain agenda, which isn't good for us, which doesn't benefit us. And we also need to take responsibility for our own actions. And talking about the whole P. Diddy situation, Jason Whitlock also made some other interesting points when it comes to these guys using and implementing a whole prison culture where sex becomes a power dynamic move as opposed to like what sex is actually supposed to be about.
From this point on, this is the yard. Leave him alone. I'll keep him.
Are you a woman?
I am if you want me to be.
I don't want that. No, oh, okay, I know what you are.
Let me hold your pocket.
And it often gets used by these mess celebrities as a way of showing influence and dominance over someone, which is why you have P. Diddy being accused of doing some stuff with Meek Mill and some of these other big rappers, because then it could also be used as blackmail, and it could be used as this way of showing your power over people. And look, whatever two consenting adults do in the privacy of their own bedrooms is up to them. I'm all for live and let live as long as you're not harming anyone, as long as you're not hurting anyone, as long as you're not harming kids in particular. But there's definitely some serious crimes, there's definitely some serious allegations going on against P. Diddy, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he rolls on anyone else, whether he takes the fall, whether anything actually comes out of this, or is this just going to be the next Epstein case where he's the only name who gets exposed, but then everyone else basically gets hidden behind the whole situation, and then both sides end up getting on board with thinking that like the truth is going to come out of this, but nothing ever does come out of it. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. I do want to play two interesting clips I saw on TikTok, though, the other day when it comes to this whole situation. So let's watch together.
So much on P. Diddy right now, when in actuality, everybody should be focusing their eyes on this man, Sir Lucian Grange, aka the chairman and CEO of Universal Music Group. Yes, the same Universal Music Group that had all of its artist music taken off of TikTok. This situation is way bigger than anybody really thinks. And hopefully I'll be able to open your eyes just a little bit more. And there's numerous accusations of Lucian and UMG sponsoring these parties, including from artists like J-Lo herself. It gets pretty dark. And if you really want to get deep, over 70% of the songs that just so happen to be on the Billboard 100 just last year in the last quarter of December, okay, were literally owned by Universal Music Group people. And in the 1,000 plus page documents, Lil Rod Jones and a lot of other defendants as well admit that Lucian himself was at each one of those parties. So that in itself should really tell you something.
Those Diddy parties, we're hearing some wild stuff when it came to those, as Usher spoke about recently.
Elton John, Jay-Z, Katy Perry, Queen, Rihanna, the Rolling Stones, Sam Smith, U2, and Amy Winehouse. Oh, and ironically, Grange is a Sir by virtue of being knighted by the Queen of England in 2006 for services to British business and inward investment, as well as his accomplishments in the music industry. And was in the process of acquiring EMI from Citigroup back in 2011 and was completed in September 2012, with UMG buying the British major record company for $1.9 billion. Thus acquiring labels and a roster of stellar talent, supposedly, including top-selling artists like Katy Perry, like I mentioned, Lady Antebellum, the Beatles, and the Beach Boys. This shit goes way back, people. And it's pretty damn ironic when you consider the fact that P. Diddy's best friend is none other than Jay-Z himself. And is anybody actually aware of the controversy that lies behind Jay-Z's name? If anybody would like a video upon Jay-Z and his controversy alone, I can make that video. It's gonna be at least 10 minutes long. Because boy, let me tell you, there's even allegations that go back to Tupac and Biggie. And isn't it ironic that Diddy's name has been heavily surrounded around these cases for so many years? This is for entertainment purposes only, by the way, so I don't get a violation. And then people like Eminem make a mockery of the situation by saying he did it at the end of his diss track. Oh, and isn't it just ironic that Eminem, aka Marshall Mathers, just so happened to be on that list? I'm sure we all know about the list that I'm talking about. Well, the supposed list, that is. Regardless, people only refuse to acknowledge those names going to that island in the beginning because it doesn't seem realistic. And the only reason that it doesn't seem realistic is because the entertainment industry has convinced you otherwise. Does anybody actually understand what music is, what frequencies are, what they do to your brain? You know that really annoying ass song that you just can't get the fuck out of your head? Frequencies, people. Everything around us contains a certain frequency. And if you align your mind with certain frequencies, your brain waves shift. They're altered, sometimes to calm you, sometimes to irritate you. Our perception of our realities around us daily might or might not be false. The aspects that have been hidden behind our supposed leader's veil of lies for so long are much more vast than anybody would actually like to believe.
Anyways, music's more powerful than many of us realize, so like for any of you anti-conspiracy people who think, oh, the words are harmless, well then why do you have gangster rapping associated with this massive increase in crime rates and black people going to jail? And why do you have power of frequencies being known for years, and frequencies have the power to change people's minds, as the power to cause health issues? Powerful stuff right there.
Of us given to entertainment so willingly. We have obviously become mindless consumers that value everybody else's opinions more than ours, thus not allowing ourselves to think outside the box, which is kind of something that they told you from the very beginning of our failing education system that they wanted. They wanted workers and not thinkers. And now here we are, stuck working. Just like Diddy, he was a worker. He was a pawn. And Diddy, I guarantee, will be the fall man. And I'm really curious if Diddy and himself has the balls to reveal everybody's name.
And one more clip about the P. Diddy situation.
P. Diddy's story just keeps getting wilder. It appears his drug mule has just been arrested, and you might recognize him as a former Syracuse basketball player. Familiar face? This is Brendan Paul, former guard on the Syracuse roster. He didn't get a ton of run. He averaged 0.4 points per game at Syracuse, transferred to Fairmont State for his last 2 years and averaged 1.5 points per game. But he's probably going to be a legend in jail and is going to dominate those runs. This instantly becomes a classic. Where are they now? When you look back at bench warmers from teams past, in jail as Diddy's drug mule, that's a pretty big one. So TMZ reports this story. Apparently, Brendan Paul was with Diddy and his crew, and they got intercepted when they were trying to get off a plane in Miami on Monday. Brendan Paul was in possession of 2 different types of drugs, both of which are obviously felonies in Florida. Somebody dug up some pictures of Brendan and Diddy together, so obviously they're connected. Went to his Instagram. Unfortunately, it looks like he's private, but I do think this is him. Although he was on Diddy's plane, he's connected to Diddy. TMZ, again, you have to report this. There's no evidence thus far that the drugs allegedly found on Brendan Paul or in any way connected to Diddy. For what it's worth, Diddy has previously denied these claims. This guy, being a basketball player, is a wild backstory.
So anyways, interesting stuff. We'll have to wait and see what else comes from this, or if anything comes from this. But be careful when it comes to who your heroes are, and don't fall into any idol worship or any celebrity worship syndrome where you end up neglecting your own life and giving up all your energy and all your spiritual energy to these people who aren't actually doing good things and who actually shouldn't be looked up to. Find real role models, find people who are actually promoting good in the world and people who are actually making a positive impact, not the ones who are going to be promoting drugs, violence, gangbanging, all that stuff. Next up, we have some more NASA nonsense for this week. I actually have a lot of NASA nonsense for this week. So first off, we have the story that a faster spinning Earth may cause timekeepers to subtract a second from world clocks.
Funny, but not funny, haha. Funny, weird.
Well, if any of you guys ever watch any of my other flat Earth videos, we're in a flat stationary plane. So like this idea of the Earth spinning faster now, so therefore they have to take time off the clocks is complete nonsense. But I do think there actually may be an agenda to this. I have an interesting theory, and I'm pretty sure I first heard this on one of Sam Tripoli's podcast episodes, Tinfoil Hat, where the past few years, and maybe I'm crazy, maybe this is just me, but like it feels as if like time is almost moving faster. Sometimes like it almost feels as if there's not enough time in the day to do everything. And so here's my theory. I think, what if the people in power, the people controlling the world clocks, have been taking off a millisecond of every day for the past few years? But like, it's obviously easy to hide because how many people are actually counting every millisecond, every second of every day? And a lot of people are going to work, a lot of people are in their routine, so like how many people are actually going to notice this? And when you have the people controlling or manipulating the weather, and the same people who are also messing with our timelines, changing the calendars, and you also have this idea of daylight savings time. When you know that many of these reptile or high-up people in the world worship Moloch and Saturn. What is Saturn? Saturn was also the Roman god of time. The wings suggest the speed of time and derived from the association of Saturn, also known as Kronos, with the Greek god of time, Kronos. So, could these Saturn worshippers be trying to control time, control the weather, control everything, and invert everything? And is this idea of the Earth spinning faster, could this just be like their soft reveal of telling us that like they have been manipulating our clocks for the past several years? Possibly. And the next subject, which is also from the NASA Space Agency, is having to do with the eclipse that's going to be coming up on April 8th. Now, first off, I would suggest you guys check out my friend Tyler Hansen, aka the Fittest Flat Earthers, page on TikTok to find what's actually causing this eclipse and how it's different from the official narrative. But JC follows JC, another great account, posted a very interesting video, which I'm going to be playing on the screen right now.
So I guess we gotta talk about this April 8th eclipse. NASA's firing 3 rockets up to the moon's shadow. What? Why? Well, apparently they're measuring atmospheric perturbations around the eclipse path. And that's why they named their program Apep, after the serpent deity from ancient Egyptian mythology. You know, the one who was the nemesis of Ra, the serpent that ate the sun. It seems like quite a stretch to get that acronym, right? Have you ever noticed they don't name their rockets or their space programs after the Apostle Paul or Moses? Just saying. Oh, and also on April 8th, CERN is firing up their Mandela Effect machine. Their Hadron Collider. Yeah. That's, interesting timing, right? Only to go in the Wayback Machine, Aleister Crowley, famous Satanist, contacted Ayahuasca, the devil himself, on April 8th, 1904. So, 120 years to the date, this happens. And if you wonder why NASA might name their project after a serpent deity, well, this is their logo. So yeah, once again, it's all connected.
So that's some wild stuff. So like, first off, you have this idea of NASA firing rockets at the sun. What does it sound a lot like? Operation Fishbowl, when NASA fired rockets at the firmament in an effort to try to break through and to almost create this whole like Tower of Babel type thing, where you're trying to create the tower to the heavens or to God. So do we really think that NASA is trying to do good by shooting up rockets at the sun?
That is blasphemous!
To measure perturbations when it comes to the eclipse. Question everything, guys. And this idea of NASA naming this program after the serpent deity, Apep, who, if any of you guys look at NASA's logo, as JC Follows JC mentioned, you have the serpent's tongue going through the NASA sign, which is to indicate this idea of deception.
Oh, the deception! The betrayal, man, you deceived me!
And if this idea of Ra is supposed to indicate this concept of eating the sun, could it be the purpose of the rockets? And could it be the same thing when it comes to all these people trying to block out the sun and trying to save the earth? And why is CERN firing up their proton particle collider, or whatever you want to call it, or the Mandela Effect machine?
Once all 5 of the Darusian crystals stop flashing, the universe is going to be destroyed.
How do we figure out which ones are the true keepers of the continuum transfunctioner?
On the same day? Are we in end times, people? Too many crazy stories are happening all at once. And this idea of Aleister Crowley, the most wicked man alive, contacting the devil on the same date 120 years ago? Too many coincidences. There's definitely a crazy agenda going on for April 8th. I'm here for all of it. I'm going to be interested to see what actually happens. And guys, that's all for entertainment purposes only. It's all lies. It's all comedy. The next story I have set up for you guys is a brief one, but a funny one. What do we see happening in the medical industry recently? They're taking pig parts and putting them in humans, whether it's pig kidneys or pig brain, I think. I don't even know what else. But remember the Seinfeld episode when Kramer is in the hospital and is telling everyone about this idea of the pig man?
Pigman, baby, pigman.
And is actually reading articles talking about the government turning people into pigmen.
Hospital receives grant to conduct DNA research. Government funds genetic research at area hospital. Yes, so?
Pigman is alive. The government has been experimenting with pigmen since the 50s.
Could there be a connection here? Are they actually trying to merge humans with pigs? Or once again to merge humans with technology and this whole transhumanist agenda? Are they trying to create another race of humans? I don't know. Interesting stuff to consider. Next up, we have the whole Baltimore bridge collapse, which I don't know exactly what happened, but like what I do know is that the official story is false. The official narrative does not add up. I mean, why did the ship's lights shut off just beforehand? That's very strange. It seems to be when it comes to any of these false flag or truthful events, whatever you want to call them, or interesting, sketchy events that happen, why is it that like the lights will be shut off, the technology stops working, the camera shut off right before the event happens? Is it any different here when it comes to the Baltimore bridge collapse and this boat seeming to go off route and seeming to make a U-turn and then hitting into the bridge? Once again, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is only a joke. But did the Simpsons predict this also? Look at this picture on the screen. And why is there all this talk of Ryan Garcia predicting this also? Could this be once again hiding the truth in plain sight? Getting these high-level Freemasons tell us the truth as a way of getting rid of their own karmic debt. Tell us the truth so that this way, in their weird spiritual sense, they told us this, so like therefore they don't incur any more karmic debt. I think that's what's going on when it comes to celebrities who are coming out as truth tellers suddenly, even though all this stuff is being promoted heavily. But then they're going to ultimately mislead us and misdirect us, as I said earlier. And now the final story I want to get into in this week's Rabbit Hole Roundup, or Rabbit Hole Christmas, Hanukkah, or Easter celebration, or massive conspiracy conspiracy week, once again, that I want to get into is Princess Kate and her cancer diagnosis. So now, Sam Tripoli actually brought an interesting idea to my mind last night that I wasn't even thinking about in his recent Conspiracy Social Club episode, when he showed how maybe these videos of Princess Kate are actually AI generated and maybe something happened to her. I don't know for sure.
The ring disappears. I don't care what he says.
No, it doesn't.
The ring,
disappear.
It does disappear. Okay, there it is. Blatant black. Remember, it's black. Where is it, Dylan? It's gone. It's so black. It's so obvious. Now we're like squinting for it. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
No.
Nothing's there, Dylan. There's nothing there.
But like, one thing I do want to get into is how this idea of this high-level royal person getting cancer, who's a young lady, has been used to convince people that cancer rates are rising and this is totally normal in young people, in people of all ages, and could a lot of this be due to certain jibby jabbers or our food supply being poisoned or the chemicals being sprayed on us from the sky? But could this be an attempt to normalize all this stuff and to convince us that all these health issues that are popping up are all just coincidental, it's all happening randomly, and you've no power in any of this because even this royal person couldn't keep herself from getting cancer, so therefore you've no chance either? Or is it all about terrain theory? Is that the actual truth, as I believe? I believe so. But we all have to take control over our own health. It's time for us to stop normalizing all these severe health issues. Health is actually our body's natural state. And of course, I've been healing from a life-threatening illness for the past several years as a result of a thing in 2014. And as a result of, I'm sure there were other factors as well, but it's our responsibility to take care of this vessel that God created for us and to focus on putting the best inputs into it and to heal it up and to do our part in keeping our vessels clean so that this way they don't have to form health issues. And if you are battling through a health issue, through major health issues, as I have been, it takes time. Healing takes time. Getting to 100% health is not an easy process. It's simple sometimes, but like, it's not easy, if that makes sense. But it's all about removing the poisons from your body, removing the poisons from your life, and then ultimately health is going to emerge as a result. Anyways, guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that you guys found it interesting. Remember to take responsibility for your actions, and even if all these crazy things are happening in our outside world, we need to cultivate peace and higher vibrations in our internal world. Anyways, love you guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to drop a like, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts on this episode, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.